What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video, Elizabeth Warren is pushing the Senate to ban crypto wallets. And we've got the 4060 and the 4060 Ti. When will they launch? Also, Venezuela shuts down crypto mining amid corruption, and why the TikTok ban bill could have language aimed at crypto. So before we get into it, do me a favor, hit that like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Let's take a look at the market. So the time of recording right now is 9:30 p.m. on March 28th, 2023. Bitcoin is coming in at 27,374. Dogecoin at 7.4 cents. Monero at 155. ETH Classic at $20. Conflux at 36 cents. Having a great day, up 17% right now. ETH POW at $3.36, Ravencoin up about 3.5%, Chia at $37, Kadena up about 3%, still under $1 though. Flux up about 2%, currently sitting at about 62 cents, and Caspa is still just crushing it, up about 8% right now for the last 24 hours and over 56% on the last 7 days, currently sitting at almost 2.5 cents. Then we got Darrow at $7, Ergo at $1.49, Cortex at 23 cents. Nexa is up about 2% right now. Neoxa up about 5%. By the way, if you didn't catch Hawk's live stream, I should say yesterday evening, which is the evening for me right now, but they had the Neoxa team on there and was great discussion. I highly recommend checking out that video. In fact, I'll leave a link down in the description below. And then we got Dynex also pumping massively today, currently up 25% over the last 24 hours and over 40% for the last 7 days. And we've got Alephium up almost 7% at 25 cents, Radiant up 1%, Raptorium up 5.3%, Hive Mapper up 6.4%, and Meowcoin is down 16.84%. Let's go ahead and take a look at emissions over the last 24 hours, and as you can see, Caspa holding on to that number 4 spot, and it's kind of looking like it won't be long before Caspa overtakes Litecoin as the number 3 coin in emissions every 24 hours. Then we've got Conflux up to 91,000, Ravencoin at 87,000, Monero at 65,000, Ergo at 56,000, Flux at 29,000, ooh, under 30,000. And then we've got Dynex up to 20,000, which is good to see, usually around 14,000 or so. And Darrow is up to 20,000 as well. Let's take a look at the change in difficulty over the last 7 days. So Bitcoin is up 7.5%, Dogecoin is up 3.6%, Caspa is up 14.7%. We got Conflux down 7%, Ravencoin up 6%. We've got Flux down 25% over the last 7 days, and Dynex is up 2.5% over the last 7 days. Let's go ahead and jump into profitability on a 3070 at 13 cents per kilowatt hour. Let me go ahead and refresh this page just to see if there's any changes. Nope. So Caspa coming in on top at 22 cents a day in profit, followed by NiceHash. By the way, it is possible now to mine K-Heavy Hash on NiceHash and get paid in Bitcoin. I am not a supporter of it, but I just thought you should be aware. Then we got Nexa coming in at 17 cents, Dynex also at 17 cents, Caspa and Ergo at 13 cents, Alephium at 12 cents, Radiant at 8 cents, Chinet at 6 cents, Eternity at 5 cents, and everything else is going to be negative. Let's go ahead and take a look at ASIC miner profitability right now. So the L7 back on top at $9.83, followed by the K7 at $9.83. The iPolo G1 has dropped down to third place at $9.58. By the way, this is at 13 cents per kilowatt hour. And then we got the HS3 at $7.97, the KA3 at $5.28, Jazz Miner X4 at $3.59, the X16 at $3.44. And I'll scroll down so that you guys can see the rest. And let me show you what I am currently mining. So I have the entire farm still on Caspa. And in Hive OS, we're sitting at 22 gigahash, but with the 2 desktop PCs, we're currently sitting at roughly about 24 gigahash. And yeah, same on the pool. And still under 800 coins a day at 24 gigahash, which is rough. But hey, it's still more profitable than anything else, so I'm going to continue to stack my Caspa. So let's get into the first article, and this comes to us from Cointelegraph about our dear friend Elizabeth Warren is pushing the Senate to ban your crypto wallet. So Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is once again spearing the cryptocurrency industry and attempting to make Americans more dependent on big banks. Warren vowed in February to reintroduce the Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act, a proposal that went nowhere when she first introduced it with Kansas Senator Roger Marshall in December of 2022. While the proposal's stated purpose is to protect Americans from scams, it is more likely to drive cryptocurrency business overseas and weaken consumer choice. It prohibits the use of digital asset mixers and requires self-hosted wallets, like the kind you keep on your cell phone, along with miners and validators to have anti-money laundering AML policies. Many of these entities may not even be able to impose such requirements, meaning they would simply need to shut down or stop servicing American users. The proposal is the wrong one at an opportune time. While recent high-profile frauds and thefts demonstrate the need for some crypto regulations and enforcement, the bill amounts to a smear campaign against the industry that would make Americans more dependent on traditional banks. But she is simply wrong when she says that cryptocurrency is the method of choice for international drug traffickers and terrorists, not tourists. In fact, only about 10 billion or less in cryptocurrency is involved with money laundering each year, compared with between 800 billion and 2 trillion laundered in conventional currencies. The bill is particularly harsh on decentralized finance, or DeFi, including non-custodial ones, requiring platforms to record the personal information of users and submit it to the government without a warrant or probable cause. It's a bit like blaming the city because you were mugged on the sidewalk. The bill also lumps together all miners, including those mining for themselves, as opposed to processing transactions for others, as money service businesses. It also ignores the fact that miners can provide other services unrelated to transactions. Most absurdly, companies that develop the software would be required to register as money service providers, adopt anti-money laundering policies, and report customers to Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. By this logic, electronics stores like Best Buy and Micro Center should register as money service providers because the cell phones they sell could be used to commit fraud. Great analogy. Warren also seems unaware that blockchain and related technologies are not the same as cryptocurrency, and that not all cryptocurrencies are openly traded or usable for purchases. For example, users of Brave web browser, which blocks advertisements, can earn basic attention tokens by agreeing to watch ads and can give them to content creators who can exchange them with Brave for the money the advertisers paid. It's a closed ecosystem, with the tokens having no monetary value because they symbolize time spent watching ads. It's laughable to regulate companies such as Brave, like banks or brokerages. Will casino chips be so regulated, or frequent flyer miles, or the interstellar credit, ISK, currency of the online game EVE Online? It is clear that this has nothing to do with protecting consumers. Instead, it is designed to hobble cryptocurrency and crypto businesses with an unreasonable regulatory burden. In fact, collecting all this data on blockchain users and crypto owners could enable much more crime and fraud. The federal government is not immune from hacking. Moreover, the FBI's success in recovering cryptocurrency that was stolen or used for ransom payments demonstrates that blockchain is not the weak link in the system. A better approach would be focus on the business involved in exchanging cryptocurrency for government-issued fiat currency, or on and off ramps. This is where ill-gotten money enters or disappears from the blockchain, and they are also most clearly involved in money transmission and custodial services. Entrepreneurs are also involved in making DeFi less vulnerable to criminal activity. Companies are offering software that allows blockchain businesses to implement know your customer policies and verify customer vendor identities without compromising privacy. However, these software solutions are still expensive, and Warren's bill still drastically overreaches. The main effect of Warren's bill could be to force many crypto businesses to either close their doors or leave the United States, giving Americans few legal opportunities to participate in the industry. This will reduce competition in banking and other financial services to the benefit of traditional ones, which, while they have their own AML and regulated regulations, don't face similar scrutiny. In addition, the company that develops software for your local bank doesn't have to comply with AML regulations. Bringing the hammer down on crypto so heavily could also result in an increase in criminal activity by driving legitimate users and businesses away from the industry underground, much like how alcohol prohibition in the 1920s strengthened organized crime. In Financial Action, the Financial Action Task Force, an international body monitoring and advising governments on terrorist financing and money laundering, recommend that all crypto transactions be subject to scrutiny, regardless of risk factors. However, other countries are not taking such a draconian approach. In the European Union, for instance, hosted wallets will be required to submit information for every transaction, while transactions between unhosted wallets will only need to implement AML compliance for transactions involving €1,000 or above. The United Kingdom only requires reporting if the transaction presents risk factors. Lawmakers, including Warren, should remember that their job is to promote the public good, not to carry out a crusade against an entire industry. And kudos to the author of this article. I think it's pretty much spot on and agree with most of the things that he said or she said. I would also like to point out that I don't know if the the EU or the United Kingdom are really as friendly as people are making it out to be towards crypto. I really kind of feel like, take for instance Gary Gensler. Prior to all of the enforcement actions and everything that he's done in this industry, I think whenever it was announced that he would be in charge of the SEC, coming from a teaching job, basically explaining cryptocurrency, we thought that he was going to be great for the industry. And how did that turn out? So I just want to warn you guys, all of the good things that you think are coming out of Europe and European countries, I have my doubts. I really do. But let's move on and let's talk about this article from Tom's Hardware real quick. So Nvidia Tech uses AI to optimize chip designs up to 30 times faster. And I'm not going to read this entire article, but I thought it was very interesting that AI is now simulating chip design, and those designs will be implemented in the future because they can obviously process this a lot faster than a human can. And it'll be very, very interesting to see what AI can come up with in regards to designing chips. So if you want to read this entire article, I'll leave a link to this down in the description below. And I've got another article about Nvidia, and that is in regards to the 4060 and the 4060 Ti reportedly being launched in May. According to WCCF Tech, Nvidia mid-range RTX 4060 class is to be unveiled in 2 months. We have already reported on May in the previous story, but as we stated, this is still very early information that has not been confirmed yet. However, WCCF Tech source appear to collaborate that the RTX 4060 is more or less confirmed for this month. The only question that remains is whether Nvidia wants to launch both the 4060 and the 4060 Ti models together. The RTX 4060 GPU series are to include 2 models based on either the 8106 or the 8107 GPUs. The latter is a full GPU variant featuring 3072 CUDA cores. This configuration should be used by the RTX 4060. The Ti variant will get more cores, reportedly up to 4352, as reported by multiple sources over the course of the last few weeks. There should be no difference between both cards in terms of memory configuration. It is said that the RTX 4060 series should have 8 gigs of GDDR6 memory across a 128-bit interface. Similarities can also be found in the PCIe slots. Specs: both cards only support up to 8 lanes in Gen 4 standard. The RTX 4060 Ti is said to boost up to 2535 MHz, but it looks like custom models may actually go much higher, possibly up to 2745 MHz. One should remember that the specs are not confirmed yet, and there is a likelihood that someone is simply testing a manual overclocked card. And just wanted to kind of look at these specs real quick so we can compare the 4070 Ti to the 4060 Ti and what we think we'll get out of the 4060. But, I just keep going back to a couple of things on these new 4000 series. Number one, the CUDA cores. And number two, the bus size. This 192-bit bus and 128-bit bus is just freaking awful. And as far as base clocks and boost clocks go for the 4070, not looking terribly impressive, compared to a 4070 Ti and above. Now, one thing that I do like is the TDP. We're going from 285 to 200 and then down to 160 and possibly 115 on the 4060. But, how is this going to translate to mining? I assume that they're going to be extremely efficient, but I wouldn't expect to see amazing hash rates out of them. But really what's going to matter the most at this point is probably price point. So I really don't think any of these are going to be as good of a buy as a 4090 is for mining. But time will tell, right? Anyways, so second to last thing I wanted to get into is this article about Venezuela shuts down crypto mining facility exchanges amid corruption probe. So this particular article doesn't give you all of the information that I want to cover, but we're going to go ahead and read some of this. And then we've got another article here by cryptoslate.com. So let's start with this one. Venezuela's energy supplier has shut down crypto mining facilities throughout the country as part of reorganization of the National Crypto Department and ongoing corruption investigations involving the country's oil company. According to local media reports, crypto mining companies and tweets from Venezuela's National Association of Cryptocurrencies, mining facilities were shut down in the past days in the states of Lara, Carabobo, and Bolívar. It's unclear how many crypto firms were affected. Some crypto exchanges were also ordered to cease operations. The closure of crypto mining facilities is believed to be part of an ongoing investigation of corruption involving Venezuela's oil company, PDVSA, and the country's crypto department. Venezuela's Attorney General, Tarek William Saab, disclosed on March 25th that government officials were allegedly running parallel oil operations with the assistance of the National Crypto Department, Saab commented on Twitter. This network used a conglomerate of commercial companies to legitimize the capital obtained from sales through the acquisition of crypto assets, personal and real estate. According to Saab, at least 10 people have been arrested in connection with the investigations, including Joselit Ramirez Camacho, who led the crypto department since its inception in 2018, overseeing crypto tax rules and the country's cryptocurrency petrodollar, XPD. According to earlier reports, Camacho was arrested on March 17th as part of the investigation. Since June 2020, Camacho has been listed in the United States Most Wanted list. At the time, Department of Homeland Security investigators issued a bounty of up to $5 million for any information that would lead to the capture of Petro's supervisor. Authorities alleged that Camacho had deep political, social, and economic ties to suspected narcotic kingpins, including Tarek El Assami, the former vice president of Venezuela. Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, announced the reorganization of the National Superintendency of Crypto Assets in a decree issued on March 17th. Maduro's administration claimed the decision was intended to protect the country's citizens from negative effects of economic sanctions, among other reasons. So what are we not getting from this that is important? So let's get into this next one here. Venezuelan prosecutors arrested 21 people for being involved in a wide-range crypto-related corruption scheme on state oil company Petróleos de Venezuela's SA, or PDVSA, on March 24th, as Reuters reported. 11 of the arrested individuals were businessmen, while the remaining 10 were government officials, according to Reuters' article. Moreover, the Venezuelan government has released arrest warrants for 11 more individuals allegedly participating in the same scheme. What happened? The arrest warrants were released as a result of an investigation started in October of 2022, which was focused on PDVSA, the judiciary, and the country's crypto watchdog, Sunacrypt. Speaking about the arrest at press conference, Attorney General Tarek Saab stated, and we are talking about one of the most lurid plots in recent years, which involves officials, businessmen who planned from corruption, and young people, including the so-called mafia women who participated in corruption and money laundering. Saab didn't disclose company names or details about the exact scope of the scheme. However, he stated that Sunacrypt was assigned oil cargoes for sale without administrative control, which allowed receivers to purchase these cargoes without making a registered payment. The U.S. government detected that Venezuela oil shipments were paid via cryptocurrencies, leading the U.S. to impose sanctions against Venezuela in 2019. In February of 2023, local news outlets reported that 2 oil brokers were facing charges for settling illegal oil deals with the PDVSA using Tether to dodge sanctions and settlement payments. Starting to make more sense now, isn't it? Reuters also noted that Saab's official office, has investigated over 30 cases linked to the country's oil corruption, which led to the prosecution of almost 200 people. A handful of government officials and businessmen were also arrested or removed from their positions in the last week. On March 20th, Venezuelan anti-corruption prosecutors sent a letter to the Attorney General. They requested PDVSA's officials be investigated, which led to the resignation of the company's president on the same day. 2 days later, the Venezuelan president assigned PDVSA's new chairman, Pedro Telechia, as the country's new oil minister. Sunacrypt, National Superintendency of Crypto Assets and Related Activities, is the country's designated official body to regulate crypto assets. On March 18th, the local news source reported that Sunacrypt's head, Joselet Ramirez, along with several other government officials, got arrested for being involved in corruption schemes. So, very interesting. Essentially, what was going on here was they're not using the United States dollar to settle transactions for oil. Now, I guess technically, we're talking about USDT, which is the equivalent of US money, but it's not, right? It's Tether. So, of course, the U.S. would get wind of this and then, in return, leak this information to the authorities, which essentially shut them down and replace them, right? But is this going to be another reason to come after Tether? And guys, I'm just, this is my personal opinion, not financial advice, but I'm not holding any stable coins whatsoever. With everything that's going on, I don't feel comfortable holding anything, whether it's Tether, whether it's USDC, DAI, you name it. I'm not comfortable in holding any of them because they threaten the US dollar. So, fair warning. Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about the last thing, which is the TikTok ban bill. Okay? There's some language in here that I think you need to be aware of. And I don't know where we're at in the passing of this bill. Hopefully it's not too far along, but a lot of people are screaming that this isn't just about banning TikTok. This is about centralizing control And some of the language in here is very concerning. So I'm not going to read the entire thing, but there's a couple of things that I want to go over. So in general, the Secretary, in consultation with the relevant executive department and agency heads, is authorized to and shall take action to identify, deter, disrupt, prevent, prohibit, investigate, or otherwise mitigate, including by negotiating, entering into, or imposing and enforcing any mitigation measure to address any risk arising from any covered transaction by any person or with respect to any property subject to the jurisdiction of the United States that the Secretary determines poses an undue or unacceptable risk of, and here's where we really get into it, sabotage or subversion of the design, integrity, manufacturing, production, distribution, installation, operation, or maintenance of information and communication technologies, products, and services in the United States, catastrophic effects on the security or resilience of the critical infrastructure or digital economy of the United States, interfering in or altering the result or reported result of a federal election as determined in accordance with the Attorney General, the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Treasury, and the Federal Election Commission, or coercive or criminal activities by a foreign adversary that are designed to undermine democratic processes and institutions or steer policy and regulatory decisions in favor of the strategic objectives of a foreign adversary to the detriment of the national security of the United States as determined in coordination with the Attorney General, the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Treasury, and the Federal Election Commission, or otherwise poses an undue or unacceptable risk to the national security of the United States or the safety of the United States person. And there's a bunch of other things in here that get into the whole digital aspect, and this gives way too much power to those in charge currently, and it really removes the ability to fight back against some of the language that's in here. And I'm very concerned that this bill will pass as is under the guise of banning TikTok. Why don't we just simply ban anything that comes from what's the parent company to TikTok? I forget the name, but we all know it's controlled by the CCP, and that particular company, we just simply say, look, anything that comes from this company, banned. We don't have to go through all of these extra steps here and all of this pork bellying, which they love to do, and just make it so hard to understand that it can be misconstrued in any way that they want to go after anything that they want, including Bitcoin and cryptocurrency or digital wallets or anything that threatens the digital economy of the United States. Anyways, all right, so before we get out of here, I just want to let you know the next video, we're probably going to go over the tokenomics of Ironfish. I've reached out to the team. I'm hoping to get an interview with one of them. And if you would, please comment any questions that you might have for them down below. And I'll see you guys on the next video.